Adjustable dumbbells. We have a ton of adjustable dumbbells and they're not all the same. We have a Bowflex, the LegTech 552 here. We have the Power Blocks over here. We have the Life Pros over here. And we have the Flybirds here. We also have some other ones, but the majority of the style is in these four. So let's focus on the 4 sets of dumbbells. The purpose of adjustable dumbbells is that you have one dumbbell that represents a ton of individual dumbbells. There's 2 huge advantages to that, and there's also a disadvantage. The biggest advantage is space saving, right? You just take this much space for a full set of dumbbell. The second advantage is it's very fast to switch between the weights. The disadvantage is that you cannot drop these dumbbells because like sometimes when you do a superset and you're tired, you just want to drop the dumbbells, you can't drop these dumbbells. And the other thing is, you don't have a lot of dumbbells. So sometimes if you want to use this dumbbell and switch over this one or use them as push-up bars, you can't because you only have one set. With that fact in mind, these are all adjustable dumbbells and there is a time and place for fixed dumbbells, but I like adjustable dumbbells because again, they save space and they're very quick to change the weight. So let's look at the difference between these 4 types, starting with the Bowflex. So the Bowflex has a very unique mechanism, and the way you adjust the weights on the Bowflex is by turning these dials. So for example, if I want these to be 5 pounds, I will set this one to 5 and I'll set this one to 5. If I lift up, this is 5 pounds. Same thing with this other handle. 5 pounds, 5 pounds, I lift up is 5 pounds. Whoa. So notice one thing about this is that even at 5 pounds, the length of the handlebar is as long as it would be with the full 52.5 pounds when it's fully loaded. So this makes it a little bit hard to do exercises where I need to get my hands closer together or on the side. It just kind of gets in the way when they are smaller weights, right? So that's the disadvantage of the Bowflex. But the Bowflex makes it pretty quick to change the weight. And if you want to go up to higher weight, for example, 15 pounds, same thing. So you notice that you have to adjust it in 2 places, here and here. And then you go over here, you adjust this one here and here. So there's a lot of adjustments, but it's still pretty quick, like this, and now they're at 15 pounds. They don't shake and they don't fall off. They're pretty secure. However, one of the things that people notice, and I've noticed it too, is that these sometimes stick to the actual tray. And that's not a good thing. Now, the reason why this tray is on a media stand, this is by Bowflex too, is because this solves the biggest problem for me. For example, let me go to 52.5 pounds and lift this up. You'll see that this media tray allows me to latch in the tray. So that way this tray never comes off and there's guides. So once you put it on, it doesn't slide forward and back and you buckle them in so that way the trays don't fall off. So if you get the Bowflex, I highly recommend the media tray because otherwise sometimes your dumbbells will get stuck. But other than that, these are probably one of the most famous sets of adjustable dumbbells and they do work well. Again, the things I don't like is that even in the smallest weight increment, like 5 pounds, they're still very big and there's 4 settings that you have to dial in. So these are the Bowflex. Let's jump over to the Power Blocks. So these are the Power Blocks and these go up to 50 pounds and they get a little bit complicated, but the way you change the weight here is by racking the weights. So for example, if you want to go for the lighter weight, you rack up this weight. And same thing on this side, you will rack up this weight over here. And now this is at the black level, so this is 10 pounds. And you see how the dumbbells are pretty small for 10 pounds? Or I can even show you 5 pounds and they're lighter weight, right? So they're smaller too. So I can do exercises where I can get my hands closer together, which is great. Then when I go to bigger weights, for example, if I want to rack it up to, this yellow one is 35 pounds, you rack up 35 pounds on this side, and it's magnetic too, see? It's magnetic. And then now I lift up, and they are 35 pounds. And these weights, they rarely get stuck, but sometimes they do get stuck, but they rarely do. And when they get stuck, they don't have a mechanism where you can tie them down like the Bowflex do. But I really like these because again, they're smaller when you use lighter weights. However, it gets really complicated when you want to go to small increments of weights. Over here, you see how when you went to 17.5, 12.5, it's easier to get the small increments with the Bowflex. With the power block, to get the small increments, watch this, it's crazy. You have to drop all the weights and you lift up the handle, and then you have this open and close. When you go ahead and click open, you see right here, it opens up this. And these are called adder weights. You have 2 of them, and each of these are 2.5 pounds. So to go in 2.5 pound increments, you have to add the adder weights and then lock it up. And if you add the adder weight, it's kind of unbalanced, especially if you have just one here, because if you can imagine, it's kind of heavy right there. If you add 2, open this up again, add this other one, lock it, now it's balanced, but now it's still unbalanced forward, right? Because this is a square. So also notice that when you hold this weight, your hand is encaged in a square. So in case you drop the weight, it's kind of bad for your wrist, right? Whereas when you had like this one, if I go to 7.5, you see this is more traditional. If you need to drop the weight, just let it go, right? You're not locked in. As with the power blocks, you're kind of locked in. So this is a little bit different too. So these adder weights make it very difficult to go in 2.5 pound increments. It's possible, but it's difficult and it makes it unbalanced. And if you want to, you can have this stand, and this stand makes it easy to store all the adder weights. It's like this. See? You can store your adder weights right here. And remember, this is just one handle because we still have this other handle over here, and this one also has adder weights. So you can see this becomes very complicated because now you have a system where you have these little increments of weights. I mean, it works. For me, I don't deal with the adder weights. I just put them on and I forget them. So to go in 2.5 pound increments with this system is tedious. I don't recommend this system if you want to go 2.5 pound increments. As you can see, these adder weights, they make it unbalanced, and it ruins your momentum when you're working out. So these are the power blocks. Now going down here, we have the Life Pros. Now the Life Pro has a unique mechanism. As you can see, it's quicker, but the increments do not have the half increments. You have 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, and 55. That's it. And you slide this over to the weight you want. For example, 5 pounds, 5 pounds. You lift this up, and it's 5 pounds. Remember, this one is like the Bowflex in that the length of the dumbbell, even at the lightest weight, is still the full length. But it's quick, and it's pretty solid too. You see how fast this is? 15 pounds. 15 pounds. One quick slider, and they're solid. And we can do that again. For example, you want to go to 35 pounds, right here, drop it onto 35, drop this onto 35, drop them onto 35, lift them up, and now you're at 35. So super easy and very fast, very solid, even at 55. Now notice the tray couldn't get stuck. See, sometimes it gets stuck like that. So again, with these trays, I still would like something to buckle them down, just like I have the Bowflex. But once you buckle down the tray, they're solid. So they are faster to switch than the Bowflex, but they don't have that half increment weight or that 2.5 pound increments, right? It's just by these weights right here. And at the lowest weight, they do have the larger size, right? The power block is actually the only one where the dumbbells get smaller at the lighter weight. So that's kind of the unique thing about the power blocks. Now, the Flybirds have a more unique mechanism that's similar to other brands too. So let me show you the Flybirds right here. And the Flybird, this unique mechanism is the flick of the wrist, where you can flick the wrist and change the weight. You see right here? So this is very fast and very satisfying because it clicks For example, 11 pounds and 11 pounds. Lift up and you're at 11 pounds. So this one has the same problem or same situation as this one and the Bowflex. At the lightest weight, they're still very big. So you can't do the exercises where you touch your hands together. But they are very fast. However, unlike the Bowflex, they're more similar to the Life Pro in that you only have these set increments. Now they're different sets though. If you notice, this is 55 pounds, but you have 11, 22, 33, 44, and 55. So they're evenly divided, but they're kind of interesting numbers. Whereas with the Life Pro, you have 5, 15, 25 right there, 35, 45, and 55. So these are the increments here. So in terms of increments, the Bowflex will give you the most variety in terms of increments by easily switching the dials. But the trade-off is that there's more things to switch. Again, just a reminder, with the Bowflex, like 5 pounds, you switch here, 5, 5, 5, 5. That's 5 pounds. You want to switch it up to say 20 pounds, you go here, 20 pounds, you go here, 20 pounds, and you get faster at it. Like you can dial this at the same time as you dial this once you get used to it. But there we go, 20 pounds, lift up, and you're at 20 pounds. So this one is good for small increments, and it's a very solid set. So that kind of wraps up our different types of dumbbells. You see, we have smaller dumbbells over here too. And I guess one more thing I want to mention is that it might be worthwhile to get a small set of dumbbells, like 25 pounds or 15 pounds, because the increments are smaller, like 12 pounds, 9 pounds, 6 pounds, and 3 pounds. So when you want to do the smaller weights, for example, arm exercises like this, then it's nice to have the smaller weights because they actually do go into smaller increments, right? Versus using this set to do about 6 pounds. You can't do 6 pounds. You can do 2.5, 5, and 7.5. But this one will give you 3, 6, 9, 12. So smaller dumbbells do give you that more finite granularity. But if you're looking for the ones that go up to about 50 pounds, that's where you have these, right? The SelectTech 552, the Power Blocks. This is a urethane set that goes up to 50 pounds. Some of these can be expanded up to like 100 pounds with the expander pack. The Bowflex cannot be expanded, but they have different versions that are heavier. And those cannot be expanded either, but they have different versions that are heavier. For example, you have the Flybirds here that go up to 55 pounds. You also have the Flybirds here that go up to 25 pounds. So they have different increments with a twist action. And you have a different brand here, Initial Force, that's very similar too with the clicking mechanism, right? And of course, you saw over there, the Life Pro also has smaller weights too that slide and have this mechanism. And then these are the Flybirds too. So there's a bunch of different options to choose from. You probably want to use the weights that work best for your type of workout. And that's really dependent on you. You can see the difference here. You saw the pros and cons, how finite and granular the Bowflex are, but more time to adjust the weights. Same thing with the Power Blocks. They take a lot of effort if you want to mess with the adder weights, but if you don't mess with the adder weights, these are fast and they have this racking mechanism that I kind of like because it's like weightlifting style adjustments and it's kind of fun to change the weights up. And these are the only ones that get smaller when you go to the lighter weights, right? Whereas all these ones, they stay the same size even when you drop down to the lowest weights. They still have the full length, right? See the difference? When they're both at the lightest weight, their full length is here. So that's kind of the rundown of my findings in my experience of using a bunch of different dumbbells, trying to find the best dumbbells. And again, there's no real right answer for the best dumbbells. It's kind of what you want and based on what type of workout. For example, when I was doing P90X, I love the Power Blocks because they're fast. I can drop the weights, boom, drop the weights, boom, drop the weights, and they're the right amount of weight segments for me, right? But for someone else, they may prefer like the fibers that do the 11-pound increments. Or maybe someone really wants to find the increments, they'll do with this, but they have to pause the video because it takes more time to change the weight. So it really depends on what you need. Now you know which dumbbells works best for you.